the William-Harry relationship has loads of parallels between George VI.
I think you wrote that a private secretary told Edward that a royal title is a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Why didn't he just, like Harry did, or if this was even an option back then, step down completely from the royal family and disassociate himself completely?
Yeah, well, he was offered the opportunity to on several occasions. He was offered the opportunity to ditch, because he was saying when Wallis was being denied her HRH title, well, I'll ditch mine as well, and I'll be plain old Mr. Windsor. He was reminded that if he did that, he'd lose everything that was attached to his status. He'd lose any kind of money, anything like, a security guard or bodyguard or anything like that. But also, implicitly, he would then lose his ability to go to... Because, what you look at is that they were professional spongers. They were going to people's houses constantly for weeks, if not months on end. They were basically going about and taking hospitality from people who felt they had to give them hospitality because he'd been king. And the thing for me is that what I find so fascinating is that I don't come at writing a book like this with any kind of intrinsic belief that, oh, well, he's king, so he deserved it. I think that being a member of the royal family is an accident of birth. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a more deserving person. And I think that Edward VIII really pushed that to the limits in terms of what he was expecting from the world versus what anybody rational or sane would have expected from the world.
So interesting. So do you feel like this relationship between Edward and George, does this compare to William and Harry's relationship? Because, ever since Harry left the royal family, people have been drawing back to this comparison. But as somebody that has fully researched it, do you see those parallels?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that the William-Harry relationship has loads of parallels between George VI and Edward VIII, because what you can see is that Harry and William are both married to very strong women. There's very much a sense that their wives have influenced their thinking, they've influenced their actions towards each other. And it's exactly the same thing with George VI and with the Duke of Windsor, that Wallis and Queen Elizabeth are both very strong women as well. And you can really see now that the William and Harry relationship, in Britain it's speculated about so much, the idea of will they be together, will they talk to each other? I think it's fair to say no, because after Harry published Spare, he knew exactly what he was doing, or if he didn't know what he was doing, he's even more stupid than we thought he was. But anyone who isn't, completely imbecilic would have known that to publish a book like Spare with that level of attack on your family is essentially ending any kind of relationship you're ever going to have. And I think that the Duke of Windsor knew something very similar, because he published his own memoir called A King's Story. And that was, if that wasn't an attack on his family the way that Spare was, but it certainly, that caused quite a lot of controversy when that came out as well. And you can see the history has repeated itself, because you can see that in the context of royal relationships, where there is the heir and the spare, there's always, I think, a sense of, on both sides, that the heir looks at the spare and thinks, you have all the benefits of this life and none of the difficulty. And the spare looks at the heir and thinks, yes, but on the other hand, I am faced with this situation that I can't get out of this. I'm always a member of a royal family. It is a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And of course, we saw it with Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret, that we saw that Queen Elizabeth was the dutiful one who was well behaved and was a public figure. And Princess Margaret was a sort of playgirl. She was going about the place and having a good time and being very imperious and thinking that she could do what she liked. So, yeah, the William and Harry thing and the feud, which is now very much in public domain, it's very similar in so many regards between the George VI and the Duke of Windsor.
What rift do you feel runs deeper?
Well, we're not done with this one, are we?
That's
I think
true.
that
Got a ways to go.
it seems clear to me that Harry has no interest whatsoever in reconciling with his family. He's got a new life now. It's a completely different life to one of and he can't go back to it. There's no possibility of he's going to come back to Britain and lead any sort of normal life here. The fact that, while we're speaking, he's in Britain, at the High Court, but none of his family are seeing him. And that's quite telling, that apparently he tried to see King Charles, but King Charles said he was too busy. So you think, Because I mean, there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of speculation as to will Harry and Meghan go to the coronation. Now, I don't know at the time of speaking to you what's going to happen. I'd be amazed if at least Harry doesn't. Because if he didn't go to the coronation, he's essentially saying, I am not going to have any relationship with my family ever again. And of course, the trouble is that when you stop being a member of the royal family, as the Duke of Windsor more or less did, then what do you have going for you instead? I mean, you're a celebrity, which is great, but you're a celebrity based on something that you used to be. And that's quite a difficult long-term means of sustaining your fame.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.